Have you ever stood in front of a decision so heavy that it almost felt like the air around you stopped moving? Maybe it was deciding whether to leave a relationship that no longer felt right, whether to take a risky job opportunity, whether to speak your truth or stay silent. In those moments, it feels like your entire life is sitting in your hands, and you're terrified of dropping it. Here's the strange thing, deep down, most of us already know what we want to do. That quiet whisper inside of us has already given us the answer. But instead of listening, we drown it out with fear. Our brain kicks into overdrive. We make endless lists of pros and cons. We ask friends for advice, sometimes 5, 6, 10 different people, hoping someone will confirm what we already know. We overthink, overanalyze, and spin in circles until we're paralyzed. The truth is, the hardest part of making a big decision isn't figuring out what to do. It's trusting yourself enough to do it. That feeling in your gut, that tightness in your stomach, that rush in your chest, that little voice whispering, "This matters, this is the moment," that's not just random. It's your intuition, the built-in compass that we all carry. It's the wisdom of your experiences, your values, and your truth trying to guide you. But here's the challenge, your gut speaks softly, and fear shouts loudly. Fear screams, "What if you fail? What will people think? What if you regret this?" Fear wants safety, certainty, and comfort. Your gut, on the other hand, doesn't care about comfort, it cares about alignment. It cares about whether this choice feels true to who you really are. And this is the crossroads we all fear. It's not just about the choice itself, it's about the battle between fear and intuition. It's about asking yourself, do I stay where it's safe but miserable, or do I leap into the unknown, trusting that my gut won't betray me? In this story, you're going to meet Sarah, a woman who stood at that very crossroads. Her decision terrified her. But when she finally trusted her gut, everything about her life changed. Sarah's life looked picture-perfect on the outside. She had done everything right. She studied hard in college, landed a high-paying job in a respected New York corporate firm, and climbed the ladder faster than most of her peers. Her parents beamed with pride every time they introduced her to friends. Her co-workers admired her for her drive. And her social media was full of glossy posts, fancy dinners, expensive handbags, snapshots of skyscrapers from her office window. But what no one saw was the war happening inside her. Every morning, Sarah's alarm rang at 6 a.m. She would drag herself out of bed, already tired, already anxious. By the time she sat at her desk, she felt the weight of her day pressing down on her chest. Meetings drained her, deadlines consumed her, and her smile, the one she wore for her boss and clients, was nothing more than a mask. One late evening, Sarah stayed in the office long after everyone else had gone home. She leaned back in her chair, staring out the glass windows at the sparkling New York skyline. For a moment, the city looked beautiful. But in her gut, she felt nothing but emptiness. And that's when it happened. A quiet thought whispered inside her, "This isn't your life. This isn't your purpose." Her heart skipped a beat. The thought was both terrifying and relieving. Terrifying, because she had spent years building this career. Relieving, because deep down, she already knew it was true. But almost immediately, her mind fought back. A flood of fear crashed in. Don't be ridiculous. People would kill for this job. How will you explain quitting to your parents? What if you walk away and end up with nothing? What if you fail? Sarah felt trapped between two voices, the whisper of her gut and the roar of her fear. Her gut told her she was meant for something more, something different, maybe even something creative. But fear tied her to the chair in that office, telling her she'd be a fool to let go of security. This was the struggle that ate her alive every single day. On the outside, she looked successful. On the inside, she was suffocating. And the question haunted her, would she choose comfort and expectations, or would she dare to trust the truth that her gut already knew? Sarah began noticing something strange. Every time she thought about staying at her job, her body reacted before her brain even finished the thought. Her stomach knotted up, her chest tightened, and her shoulders felt heavy, like she was carrying invisible weights. But when she allowed herself to imagine walking away, starting something of her own, even though she didn't yet know what that something was, she felt a wave of relief. Her body loosened, her breathing softened, and a small spark of excitement flickered inside her. At first, she dismissed these feelings. It's just stress, she told herself. But the more she paid attention, the more she realized these physical reactions weren't random. They were signals. Her gut was speaking. Here's the science behind it: your gut and your brain are directly connected through the vagus nerve. That's why you feel butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous, or a pit in your stomach when something feels wrong. It's not all in your head. Your gut feelings are a real, biological response, a collection of signals your body picks up before your conscious mind has time to catch up. Think of it like this: your brain is the CEO of your life, always analyzing, calculating, and worrying about numbers. But your gut is like the quiet advisor in the corner of the room, calmly telling you the truth without sugarcoating it. The problem is, the CEO's voice, fear, logic, overthinking, is loud and dominant, while the advisor's voice, your intuition, is soft. Most people ignore the whisper and only listen to the shout. Sarah realized she had been doing exactly that. She had silenced her gut for years, telling herself to push through, to keep working, to be grateful. But her body never lied. The heaviness she felt every morning wasn't laziness, it was misalignment. The calmness she felt when she imagined leaving wasn't fantasy, it was her inner compass trying to guide her. The real turning point came one night when she journaled her feelings. She wrote, "When I picture staying here 5 years from now, I feel trapped. When I picture leaving, I feel scared, but free." That was the truth. Her gut had spoken. The question was, would she finally trust it? The more Sarah listened to her gut, the louder it became. Every day she walked into the office, the voice inside whispered louder, "You don't belong here. You know it." Still, the fear of leaving chained her to her desk. Then came the breaking point. One morning, Sarah woke up to the sound of her alarm, but this time her body refused to move. She sat on the edge of her bed with her head in her hands, and tears began to fall. For the first time, she admitted to herself, "I can't keep living like this." That day, she printed her resignation letter. Her hands trembled as she carried it into her boss's office. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst out of her chest. But when she finally placed that letter on the desk, something remarkable happened. Her fear didn't disappear, but it was joined by something stronger: relief. For the first time in years, she could breathe. The days that followed weren't easy. Sarah downsized her lifestyle, moving into a smaller apartment. She started freelancing just to pay her bills. At times, she questioned everything. Some nights she lay awake, wondering if she had ruined her life. Her parents called her reckless. Her friends whispered that she had lost her mind. But here's the thing: for every moment of doubt, her gut gave her a counterbalance. Whenever she thought about going back to her old job, her stomach twisted with dread. Whenever she thought about building her own path, she felt energy, even if it was scary. That contrast became her guide. Slowly, she leaned into the unknown. She explored her passions, started networking with people outside her old corporate circle, and took on small creative projects she had once dreamed about but never had the courage to try. Each step was uncertain, but with every risk, she discovered a strength she didn't know she had. Sarah's leap wasn't graceful. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And most importantly, it was hers. She had finally chosen to trust her gut. And even though she didn't have all the answers, she knew she was moving in the right direction. Sarah's story isn't about quitting a job, it's about making the hardest choice we all face at some point, whether to keep living the life others expect of us, or to step into the life our gut tells us we're meant for. Too often, people wait for certainty before making a move. We tell ourselves, "I'll decide once I know it will work out. I'll leap when the path is clear." But here's the truth, clarity never comes first. Courage does. The path only reveals itself after you take the first step. Sarah didn't know if she'd succeed when she resigned. She didn't know if her business would take off or if she'd have to crawl back to corporate life. But her gut told her one thing clearly: staying would destroy her spirit. And that was reason enough to leap. That's what intuition does. It doesn't give you a 5-year plan. It doesn't guarantee success. It simply nudges you toward what feels aligned, what feels alive. And if you listen, it will never lead you wrong. Think about your own life. Is there an area where your gut has been whispering to you? Maybe it's telling you to leave a toxic relationship. Maybe it's nudging you to start that business idea you've been sitting on. Maybe it's encouraging you to move, to try something new, or to finally speak the truth you've been holding back. Here's the reality: fear will always be there. You'll always hear that voice saying, "What if you fail? What will people think? What if you regret it?" But your gut's voice, the one that says, "This matters, this is right, this is yours," is the one you have to choose. Sarah's leap wasn't about reckless bravery. It was about trusting herself. And that's the real secret: the more you honor your gut, the stronger it becomes. Each decision builds confidence. Each choice builds freedom. So when you're standing at your crossroads, don't drown in overthinking. Don't wait for certainty. Listen to that quiet nudge inside you. That's your gut. That's your truth. That's the life you're meant to live, calling your name. Trust it, and leap.